Hey everybody! I wanted to bake something special for Pokemon Day this year, and after scouring the internet, I decided to try my hand at Poffins. The recipe I'm using is from Feast of Fiction, so if you want more detailed instructions and exact measurements, then I recommend checking out their video. After this one, of course. I'm no expert baker, but here's my attempt. First, I heated some whole milk up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, then added a packet of yeast and a dash of sugar. Then in a separate bowl, I combined the bread flour, sugar, and salt. Once those were mixed, I added in the wet ingredients. If you have a stand mixer, this next part is much easier, but if you're like me and don't own any of that fancy equipment, just keep mixing and mixing until you get what resembles dough. If it's still too wet, even after all that mixing, then add additional flour until you achieve the desired consistency. Once your dough is, well, dough, you can start kneading it for roughly 5 minutes or so. Then using a bench scraper, I divide it into semi-equal pieces. I'm not looking for uniformity here, so some of these puffins will be on the smaller side, which is fine. Now comes the long process of coloring each dough ball to be either red, blue, yellow, or green. I attempted to make a few of each color. But in this example, I combined the dough with a little bit of butter and a few drops of blue food coloring. Then squished and squashed it until fully combined. Keep adding more coloring if needed, until the dough is fully your desired color. Some look better than others, but next I covered them in plastic wrap to rise for 2 hours. While that's happening, I went ahead and made a few fillings. I tried to keep it simple by basically just combining heavy whipping cream, sugar, and for this example, hazelnut spread, aka Nutella if you want to splurge a little bit. This would once again be easier with a stand mixer, but through a combination of an electric hand mixer and a little muscle power, it eventually formed stiff peaks and was pretty delicious as a filling. I also made vanilla and strawberry versions, which also both tasted pretty good. But once the dough was done rising, I beat the air out of it and attempted to create their final puffin shape. Then let them rest for another 3 minutes, at which time I popped them in the oven for around 16 to 20 minutes. Once baked, they looked pretty awesome. I was aiming for a more oval shape, and some ended up a little rounder than I wanted, but with practice I'm sure I could get that more dialed in. They still came out better than I could have ever imagined, especially for my first attempt making this recipe. But it's time for the filling, so I poked a hole in the bottom with a chopstick and tried to make as much room as I could. Then once the cream was loaded into a piping bag, I injected as much as I could into the puffins. This was also my first time using a piping bag, and I think I did pretty good. But now, to complete the look, you'll want to brush the top with a little bit of water and position a handful of appropriately colored sprinkles on top of each puffin. Out of all the ones I created, I think this green one is the most perfect in terms of shape and appearance. And of course, we have to tear into one. Just look at that, delicious. I couldn't be happier of how they turned out. But before we wrap up this video, let's take one last look at the final result. And there you have it, the perfect treat to enjoy on Pokemon Day. Special thanks once again to Feast of Fiction for creating this awesome recipe. But everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit that like button if you did, and I'll see you next time. Bye.